1994. A time when the word law meant less than a fresh shipment of humanitarian bush legs at the Central Market. A time when the air itself smelled of burnt rubber, cheap Polish amaretto liqueur, and boundless absolute opportunities. My name is Gena. To my friends, I'm Gennady Viktorovich. To my enemies, well, I don't have enemies. Why make enemies when keeping them costs more than a bullet? I privatized them all a long time ago, bankrupted them through shell companies, and leased them out long-term as glass container warehouses. My golden deputy badge on my lapel opens any armored doors better than thermite explosives. My pager receives wire transfers faster than a Swiss bank, and my crimson blazer is a masterpiece of tailoring art. It absorbs other people's blood so well that the stains are almost invisible. A very practical item in our unstable, transitional times. Many bespectacled intellectuals who tape their broken glasses with blue duct tape and still read Dostoevsky in freezing trolleybuses think that power is a responsibility. That power is given from above to serve the people. What delightful primitive nonsense. Power is when you can legally bankrupt the only toilet paper factory in the region, buy it for pennies through a proxy homeless guy, and the very next day issue a municipal decree making wiping your ass with burdock leaves an act of high treason, sabotage, and the undermining of the national economy. I understood this simple truth deep in my childhood. While other snot-nosed kids were making mud pies and believing in a bright socialist future, I privatized the sandbox in the courtyard. I surrounded it with barbed wire made of twisted office paper clips and started collecting tribute and turbo bubblegum wrappers for the right to sit in the dry sand. Those who refused to pay were appointed as manual laborers. They carried water for me in leaky plastic buckets. Even back then, I clearly knew. If you don't build your own system, someone else's system will inevitably build you. My office on the 3rd floor is like the mausoleum. Only Grandpa Lenin lies there absolutely free of charge, whereas the line to see me costs hard currency. And every single day, the exact same thing happens. An endless, dull conveyor belt of other people's petty problems, which I, like an alchemist, transform into my own personal, tangible capital. Here walks in a typical representative of the emerging small business class. He's shaking, sweating, shifting from foot to foot. He reeks of fear and cheap Sasha cologne. He brought a briefcase with pathetic depreciating rubles. He wants to put up a stray dog shawarma stand near the railway station. He starts telling me about taxes, about job creation, about the infrastructure development of the district. Boring. Physically, unbearably boring. I have a special cast iron pedal carefully installed under my oak desk. I theatrically yawn, covering my mouth with a gold Rolex, press the pedal, and with a loud clank, the floor opens up right under the petitioner. With a piercing scream, the businessman flies down into the yawning square darkness. Where does this trapdoor lead? Honestly, no idea. The contractors assured me it leads to the basement, but I like to think it leads straight to the notorious middle class. In any case, no one has ever returned from there to file a complaint with the prosecutor's office. Now, serious people work differently. Barter is the true foundation of a transitional economy. The paper money supply is a fiction, dust that will be blown away by the next default tomorrow. Real assets always smell of fuel oil, steel, and blood. The mob drove 3 tankers of stolen diesel fuel right into the courtyard of a residential building for me. Payment for my modest consulting services in Borzoi puppies? I love barter. Inflation devours the zeros on bank accounts like locusts, but diesel fuel is an eternal value. You can always sell it to our mayor so he can refuel the rusty city buses, which he rents from me through his second cousin's offshore shell company. The perfect circulation of the municipal budget in nature. No tax returns, no paper trails. The economy must be economical and absolutely in the shadows. Infrastructure isn't just roads. It's a gold mine, an El Dorado for those who know how to read blueprints correctly. The electorate constantly complains about our roads. They say it's pothole after pothole. You could lose your suspension. And I say, citizens, those aren't potholes. They are natural speed bumps. We care about your safety. We are protecting your lives. But suddenly the federal center felt generous and allocated a targeted $1 billion for the construction of a new automobile bridge across the Griaznuka River. I sat down and looked at the estimate. Concrete, rebar, complex supports, greedy design engineers, hydrologists. Too many freeloaders at the trough. Why build a complex bridge over a river, disrupting the ecosystem, if you can just asphalt the river itself? Water is soft. It can endure anything. We brought in the heavy machinery and just poured red-hot tar straight into the current, right over the reeds, frogs, and ducks. The ducks, of course, were quite surprised when they suddenly turned into solid road markings. But progress always demands innocent sacrifices. In the reports to Moscow, I wrote a brilliant sentence. An innovative floating nano-highway with the effect of natural water cooling for vehicle undercarriages has been implemented. Naturally, we absorbed every single penny of the funds that very same day. With the remaining $900 million from the bridge, I modestly transferred the funds to build my summer cottage in a nature reserve, just a humble 5 stories, a helipad, and heated solid gold toilets. The road on the river lasted exactly 3 days until it was washed away and carried into the Caspian Sea by the very first autumn rain. The mayor was tearing the sparse hair from his head, threatening me with the prosecutor's office in the FSB. I simply gifted his nephew a controlling stake in the asphalt plant, and the incident was instantly resolved. In Russia, there are 2 main problems, and if you crossbreed them correctly, you can make a great profit. But any power, even the most absolute, must be periodically legitimized. To create the illusion of choice, elections. They say democracy is the power of the people. What a sweet, touching, almost Disney-like illusion. Democracy in our latitudes is when the people themselves, absolutely voluntarily, with songs, limericks, and accordions, choose the person who will methodically rob them for the next 4 years. And I, like a true patriot, put forward my candidacy for a new term. My main competitor from the opposition was Innokenty Petrovich, a former high school physics teacher. A naive, slouched dork in a jacket with leather patches on sharp elbows. He stood at the podiums and promised honesty, budget transparency, new pipes in the boiler houses, and a bright future. Idiot. I didn't promise a bright future. I promised canned meat. Today. Right now. The canned meat was written off from strategic long-term military storage facilities. Year of production 1974. The can itself was a deadly weapon. You could use it to punch through the concrete walls of bunkers. And if you still managed to open the can with a chisel or a blowtorch, an aggressive life form unknown to science awaited inside, trying its best to bite your fingers off first. But the electorate took it. And how? Grandmas lined up in kilometer-long queues in the freezing cold, fought with their crutches, snatched cans from each other, and cried into the TV camera lenses. Gena steals blind, sure, but at least he gives us simple folks something to eat. He is our own. Golden words. You can't fool the deep people. I later had this phrase engraved with pure diamonds on my platinum cigarette case. The debates on the local state TV ended before they even began. Innokenty Petrovich was spitting saliva, shaking some poster boards with graphs, and screaming about the budget deficit and the collapse of industry. I sat sprawled in my chair like a Roman patrician. I didn't say a single word into the microphone. I just took a hefty stack of $100 bills out of my pocket, rolled one of them into a tight tube, flicked my gold Zippo lighter, and slowly, with immense pleasure, used the burning Franklin to light a thick Cuban cigar on live television. The studio audience gave a standing ovation. The physics teacher simply rolled his eyes back and collapsed into a saving faint from the severe cognitive dissonance. The next day, the poor bastard was arrested. During a search of his cramped Khrushchev-era apartment, in the bottom drawer of his dresser, right under his old long johns, the riot police completely accidentally discovered a train car load of enriched weapons-grade uranium. Where did it come from? Like I said, my boys work very fast and very creatively. I won with a deafening result, 146% of the vote. Statistics is the corrupt whore of capitalism. But my God, does she moan fabulously when you know exactly who to pay off?